So, how do you both personally take steps to reduce your carbon footprint? What are your lifestyle choices that you think are sustainable?
I think we both have slightly different pursuits with somewhat of an overlap.
Okay.
I mean, it's just about personal preference and
Yeah, yeah.
what we've been able to actually actively make a change about in our
Mm-hmm.
lives. I think personally for me, a couple of things that really make a difference in the overall or the larger picture is to be a little bit more conscious about how I consume and like buy stuff. So consumerism.
Right.
I just think like it's helped me a lot by trying to like reduce that a lot or change my habits in that respect. Just to give me a perspective on many other things, and yeah, so that's one thing where I'm just trying to limit what I need and what I want, and try to find out which one is which, and really think about it carefully before I go and just buy something. And another one which I've taken the time to just kind of exercise, more often over the last couple of years is to use public transport.
Great.
So
Absolutely.
rather
Yeah.
than driving everywhere, I think there's a lot of merit in catching a bus or a train, and I think it opens you up to different experiences. You get to meet also
Yeah.
interesting people, have some chats along the way, really find out what's happening on ground.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at the same time, also the footprint, it does make a fairly big difference too. So I think those are a couple of things. Along with that, I think change in diet.
Diet,
So
okay.
just yeah, try like we've grown up as non-vegetarians slash vegetarians. So like the non-veg part is somewhat like culturally like ingrained in what we've been doing as children. But I think both of us are seeing the merit in switching over to a vegetarian and I guess eventually like a vegan diet. So it's something that we're taking steps towards. We're not like perfect or anything. We're just seeing where there's a lot of potential in living. Again, it's affecting personal health and as well as like the environmental impact. And I think looking at it from that angle, like even veganism is a very good guide to kind of work towards. And I think yeah, that's kind of what I look at it as, trying to work towards that. But also look at the environment, like the actual physical and chemical outcome of all of these kind of things, and also take that very strongly into consideration.
Yeah.
Because I think there's also a slight issue with veganism.
Yeah.
In a place like India, the problem is that you don't readily get alternatives that are vegan. So a lot of them are flown in from other countries or shipped in from other countries.
Yeah.
So the more you support that kind of activity, the more you're going to be sending and using fuel to bring it all the way here. And,
Right.
it's probably going to travel across the world a couple of times before it even reaches you. So, I think that's something that sometimes easily like pushed aside in the sake of being more vegan.
Right.
But I think it's something that's worth considering. I'm not saying that it's bad to be vegan in that sense, but it's worth considering exactly what the impact of those products are, the fancy ones that you get from abroad and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's about making those changes. So personally, for me, it's that it's trying to work towards a more vegan or vegetarian diet.
More plant based.
Yeah, plant based, exactly. And public transport, to keep using that and being as low footprint as I can in that respect, and also just being a little bit mindful about consumerism, how I buy stuff and how often I buy something.
Perfect.
It's just those are three things for me personally.
Yeah, I would say even for me, the journey to kind of create products has kind of reached a little bit further than the company has. So even like for home cleaning and things like that, those are things where I will try to insect repellents, or you have ants or something like that. I will always try to find like a more natural way to try and do that.
Right.
That's one thing. I think public transport for me as well. I walk a lot more. I'm also a reducitarian. I like to call it.
Okay.
It's I understand that that meat eating is probably meat is murder, but at the same time, like he said, like even vegan alternatives and things like that come with their own costs, and I have tried to become fully vegan, and
You have? Okay. How was that?
it's difficult.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I've struggled with it a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
but I've definitely walked away from that a little bit wiser, and try to understand my body a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's not a hard and fast, but I do try and stay vegetarian more.
Okay.
I eat more vegetarian
Great.
food on a
Yeah.
daily basis, and yeah, I think that for me also a big thing that I've done is that I I think is a good thing to kind of keep as a daily thing is I carry my own straw, I carry my
Yeah.
own spoon,
Absolutely.
fork,
Same.
my own water bottle wherever I go.
Perfect.
Just so that just being mindful of those few things can really impact a lot of situations in your
Mhm.
daily life
Mhm.
where you have the opportunity to refuse a straw, refuse a plastic bag, or
Yeah.
anything like that. So yeah, I think that's part of it, and I think I also have I really enjoy greenery now. I have a little corner of plants in my house that I like
perfect.
to
Yeah. Cool.
attend to
Okay.
and take care of, and
Yeah.
so a few edible plants here and there.
Mhm.
You really start then seeing the value of plants, because I think that us as city folk, we don't really think about where our vegetables come from,
Absolutely
where
right.
our food really comes
Absolutely
from,
right.
or where it goes. So even things like composting, we've made like a habit of it at home,
Mhm.
because we just realized that it's not really waste. It's kind of been a long journey through a lot of different aspects, but yeah, composting I think is something that if everybody did that and had their own little, like garden patch and things like
Mhm.
that, became a little their own daily lives, like what they eat and what they consume,
Yeah.
it becomes a little bit more sustainable, because you realize, oh yeah, I can grow basil, in my own house,
Absolutely.
ashwagandha, and
Mhm.
all these types of little herbs and stuff, and that also just goes to make just that little bit more of a difference, I think.
Perfect. That's awesome. Yeah. Composting is very valuable. Like I love the smell of compost if done right. First of all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But my main motivation was reading about how methane is generated in the landfill of food waste and biodegradable wastes in plastic bags, and that's a major greenhouse gas. It's almost
Yeah.
23 times more powerful than CO2.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. And I want to end with this question: what could the youth of India do? Like, how do you see them leading the environmental movement that's growing? That's honestly like there is a spreading awareness, but still there's a lot of work to be done. So, if you were the leader of an environmental movement, what would you do in India?
It's a bit hard to think about from that aspect
Yeah.
of being, yeah, but I guess, yeah, okay, even if you were trying to head something, I think personally, something where people are a little just more aware of their surroundings. I think
Mm-hmm.
there is still a bit of disconnect, and I see it when I guess it's a generational thing,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes when you see a parent, for example, throw something away,
Yeah.
not in a bin, maybe in the ocean or
On the
something like that,
street. Yeah.
but in front of their child, it's fairly daunting. So, because then you feel like, okay, now once you're so used to seeing things work in a particular way,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be like second nature to deal with it in the same
Absolutely
way.
right.
So I
Absolutely.
think, yeah, like if we're looking at like really young kids, I still feel like they have a worldview which is still kind of a little bit pliable and flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, like to inculcate those values and let them know that it's a very important thing, and it is something that can be easily fixed if you just look at it through a different perspective. I think that's something that would really make a big difference fairly immediately, I'd say.
Absolutely right.
And other than that, I think people, just in terms of it's that concept. I think it happens to a lot of, even when we speak to friends, right? Like I'd say like their younger generation as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them feel very hopeless about the situation because of what's happening around
Definitely.
them.
I mean, yeah.
So I think a lot of people who have the ability to exercise their power in that sense fail to do so because they just feel like it's not going to count for anything, it's not going to mean anything. But I would tell them that if they really feel that way and they have that kind of thought within them, then to really act upon it, because there's so much like that you can attain from that. You know what I mean? It can really be a good tool to change who you are as a person and lead you down probably a lot more fruitful life path as well. So I'd say to people who feel like that they personally are not going to make a difference, is that the difference comes from within. Then after that, everything else you can try to put out and extend outwards. And that also should be done in a responsible way, because going and shouting at people in public who are not really like following these kind of simple guidelines, it doesn't really drive them to change how they react to a situation. It probably drive them further away. So I'd say that even if you see that, you can try to exercise it, but just be a little bit conscientious about the person that you're trying to share this with.
Absolutely.
And and to try to make that change. Just because everyone around you isn't doing it, it doesn't mean that you have to keep ignoring the problem. So I think now people see it enough. They just have to have that confidence and ability to act upon it. And I'd encourage people to do that. I think that's one thing that I would really look at.
Great, man. Mikhail, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would say I would just kind of touch on what Mishal was saying about. I would just tell them in a basic few words: start somewhere.
Start somewhere.
Yeah, that's like if you this is as far as I know, or as far as my journey is concerned, I've realized that trying to save the planet is more of a personal decision than a societal thing. Society may at the current society, the way that people are around us, it's kind of the norm to be the guy who chucks stuff in the sea, or spit out of the train, or something. I mean, India is not we don't really have a very environmentally conscious society, and I don't think it's always been this way. I think we as a society have kind of taken 5 steps back, because even our grandparents had the kind of thought and idea, and a lot of the things that we used to do a few generations ago actually did used to be a lot more sustainable.
For sure.
For example, a very small thing about how the milkman used to come with the pails of milk, and then you wash it and give it back. Now every day we get plastic. Those are things that now, if people were to revert back to those or start making that change back again, we would see the systems react in kind. So where there's demand, there's always going to start somebody's going to come up with supply sooner or later.
Definitely.
So if people are buying organic vegetables, if people are refusing milk in packets, if they're refusing plastic bottles of water for the sake of carrying their own bottle, I think those kind of things really do make a difference. So if it means that you have to just spend a little bit more time initially trying to figure out your way, but when you do it and you realize it's your way, there's a certain amount of you feel a lot better about yourself, and you feel a lot more empowered to know that you can make a difference. And I think maybe that's where a lot of people, they feel like, oh, but we're just one person. But everybody is just one person. And so if you start somewhere, eventually you'll kind of find your way, your middle ground. Nobody's asking you to be perfect. Nobody's asking you to beat yourself up if you say buy one plastic bottle a year or something like that, just because you're dying of thirst.
Of course.
Yeah, there's a reasonable kind of limit, and you don't the planet is in dire straits, but if everybody does something, we're going to be in a lot better hands. So that's what we need to kind of be hopeful about.
Absolutely. Well, this was really cool. Thank
Yeah,
you so
really
much for doing this.
nice
And
speaking with you as well, man.
this is a business that plants trees, has a zero waste initiative, uses pretty much organic natural ingredients, and cares about the environment. They're really passionate about their business and want to make a change. So I highly recommend visiting the website treewear.org. It's in the link below. And check out the awesome products. This is Michelle and Mikhail. Thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you so much for watching this interview. I really hope you liked it and you learned something new. And so please share and tap that subscribe button below. Thank you so much again.